All right. And welcome to Composite Area Level 1. And of course, this is going to be without a graph. Now, we look at this shape below, and we're just asked to find the composite area. And all this word composite means is it means that instead of having just one simple shape, we've taken more than one simple shape and we've combined them. Now, when we see something like this weird L-shaped kind of thing down here, we don't really have any type of shape like this. What we want to do is we want to divide it up into a shape that we recognize. Now, the way we could do that is either we could draw a horizontal line kind of right there, or we could draw a vertical line right there, and it really just depends on what numbers are we given and or what's your preference. Personally, I would actually like to divide it as such. Now, the reason I say that is because I then see, okay, let's break this up into two colors. Let's see. One, we have this rectangle right here, and we're pretty fortunate because we know that this side is 3, this side is 8, and when it comes to the area of a rectangle, well, that's pretty straightforward. We know that the area of a rectangle is the base times the height. In this case, our base is 3, and our height is 8. And let's see, we know that 3 times 8 will give us 24. Now remember, this is inches, so of course this would be 24 inches squared. Now, I like to write the area on the inside because that's what it really is. It's kind of all that space right there. And let's go back to teal because this really can describe our second rectangle. Now, here's the issue with this rectangle. We know that, yes, the height of it is 5, but what we don't know is we don't know the base. And I see that this is the biggest problem that students struggle with. Well, if I know that this entire length is 7, and let me switch back to my purple, and I know that this length right here, well, remember that's 3. So if I have a line, and I know that a piece of it is 3, and I know that the whole thing is 7, well, in order to find this missing section, once again, let me switch back to that teal. To find that missing section, we're going to have to take the whole thing and subtract the piece that we have. So if we simply do 7 minus 3, well, we know that that would equal 4. And so it turns out that this piece right here is 4 inches. And now we have both the height and the base. So we can say, okay, this would be our area of our rectangle. I can even call it area of the rectangle 2. And we have our base times our height. And here our base is 4. And our height is 5. And we both know that 4 times 5 will give us 20. And once again, 20 inches squared. Now, here's the big idea for composite area. Whenever you have these two areas, so we have the 24, and here we have the 20, we know that we want to take those two things and add them together because we are combining them. And it turns out that 24 plus 20 would give us a total of 44 inches squared. Now, I would suggest that you pause the video, go ahead and finish writing your notes, but I'm going to go ahead and erase this and move on to our second example. Okay, let's go ahead and start back with this burnt orange. So here we have example 2. And we're going to kind of do the same thing, but just take it up just one more level. So let's see, for example 2, let's say I had some sort of shape like this. And you know what? Let's even draw something like that. Okay. And we could pretend that that's a little straighter, but this is our shape. And let's see, we're going to need to know this side. Let's say that this is 8 inches. This appears to be a little bit longer, so let's call that 10 inches. Let's go here, let's call this 2 inches, and let's call this 4 inches. And let's see. Yeah, we almost have enough here. And then I'm going to do one more thing. Let me just kind of draw an arrow to this piece right here. And let's say that that's 3 inches long. And of course, I want you to find the area. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Now, we look at this shape, and we're trying to find the area of this composite figure. And what we notice is that it's not really a shape that we're familiar with. So, of course, we're going to have to break it up into different shapes. So let's go ahead to this nice little magenta. And what I would do, actually, is I would simply split it this way and this way. And of course, this will actually allow us to go ahead and go with less shapes than necessary. Okay, so let's take a look here at the things we know. I know that when I look at this rectangle, it's made up of a base of 4 and a height of, or remember, we said that that height was 3. So yeah, so we have enough information here for this one. So let's see, I know we have the area of a rectangle. It's the base times the height. In this case, that would be a base of 4 times a height of 3, and we know that that would give us 12, in this case 12 inches squared. And I can even go ahead and write that on the inside right there. Now I think the next shape that we should tackle is probably that rectangle. And let me go ahead and use a different color here, go back to our teal. And so I see I have my rectangle here. And this is going to this will bring us to our first problem that we have. We know the base, we know that's 10, but we don't know the height. Now, how could we find that? Well, if I know that this entire length is 8, and I know that this piece is 3, once again, it's kind of like our previous example, where I know the total and a piece, I just want to subtract the two. And so we know that 8 minus 3 would give us 5. And so it turns out that this is actually a height of 5 inches. So now we have the base and the height. So I would say, okay, well, the area of my rectangle is the base times the height, which of course would be 10, once again, that's our base, times our height, 5. And so we know that 10 times 5 is 50 inches squared. And there is our second area, 50 inches squared. Now this is going to bring us to our third and final piece. So let me actually go ahead and try red here. I think that would be kind of nice. I'm going to go ahead and take this triangle and really bold it. Okay, and I guess our first question would be, do we know the height of the triangle? And this is where we kind of have to look across. So I know that this height right here is equivalent to that height right there. So if this height is 3, then this must be 3. So we have the height, but we don't know the base. So let's go back to this rule of the total segment and take away the pieces. What I see right here is that this entire segment is actually made up of this first piece, second piece, and third piece. And we're going to kind of do the same thing we did here. So we're going to say 10 is our total segment minus this first piece must be equivalent to 4. So 10 minus 4 minus, and this second piece must be equivalent to 2. And so we have 10 minus 4 minus 2, which is really the same as saying 10 minus 6. And we know that 10 minus 6 is 4. And so that will actually be that missing segment right there. So I go ahead and write out the area of my triangle. And we know that that is the base times the height divided by 2. And so let's see what things we know. We know the base was 4, that's what we just found, times our height of 3, all divided by 2. Why? Because it's a triangle. And we've got to ingrain that in memory. And now we know that 4 times 3 on the top is 12, divided by 2 is equal to 6. Let's squeeze in that inches squared. Well, once again, what's the big idea of composite area? We want to take these three things, switch back to our original color here, and we want to take this 12, this 50, and this 6, and let me write that 6 in there, and we want to add all three areas together. So I come down here, let me really box that off, and we know that we'll have 12 plus 50 plus 6, and it turns out that 12 plus 50 is 62, plus 6 would be 68 inches squared. My apologies. 68 inches squared. Pause the video if you need to finish writing these notes. I hope this helps, and I'll see y'all in our level 2